Kia ora and welcome to Deep Dives with Will and Reubs.
The show that is making accounting cool again.
I'm Will.
And I'm Reubs.
And in today's episode we have creative destruction.
That's right, that's the episode where we focus on the first 2 years in business and some of the common mistakes we see and how to avoid those.
Yeah, so we want to give you the toolkit of taking an idea, or maybe you want to get into business and we could help you find that idea based on our first episode. And then we'll take you through the process of establishing whether that idea is any good and actually getting that business to market and getting it profitable. So that is what we'll be covering in these sessions here. Now, this session is very much focused on following on from our previous session. So in our previous one, we looked at the importance of doing a cash flow forecast, which is that first step. Once you've decided what your idea is, the first thing is a cash flow forecast. Make sure that it makes sense, or the numbers make sense. And if that works, the next thing we want to do is go and talk to some customers and have a chat to make sure that our idea, other people agree that our idea is a good idea. But important to note here is we haven't registered a company yet. Mm-hmm. We haven't set up company bank accounts. We haven't bought any domain names or anything. But we may have the company name in mind. So, and that's part of that creative process. Generally, when you come up with a business idea, you think, hey, this is a pretty cool name.
The first thing people do is the name, and it's the thing they spend the most time thinking about. And it is very important, but it's normally at the detriment of the more important things like, will people pay me for this?
That's exactly right. Yeah. But obviously, it's going to be part of the process. But the reason I want to bring it up now is because what really dictates the name is I used to think that you'd need to check the company's register to think, hey, does this company already exist? If it does, well, I have to think of a new name. What's actually more important than that is the domain name. So your domain name is the website address that you're visiting. So, for example, we had it's called the McReuben Burger. So if Reubs wanted to create a burger outlet called the McReuben Burger, this sounds awesome. That's right. So what we'd do, so Reubs might have this idea for a burger bar that he wants to start, and he may have the name in mind. Now, if you are very fixated on your name, what I'd do is I'd go check out to see if the domain's available. So if you are in New Zealand, you might want a .co.nz. If you're in Australia, it might be a .com.au. I think in Canada it's .ca. Yep. So whatever it is, so you want to look at the domain name. Now, .com is like the most globally recognized one. You'll find you got Nike.com and Toyota.com and Chevrolet.com. They're all these big brands have .coms. You don't have to have a .com. You don't have to have a .com. You just need a way that people can find you online. But let's say, for example, if you are based in New Zealand and you wanted to set up a company called McReubenburger.co.nz and that exists, probably be worth looking at a different business name. But within saying that, it's not the most important thing to be doing right now. We're not worrying about the name, but I just wanted to cover that because I think some people do get really excited about what that name is, because once you've got the name, you can start feeling that emotional attachment comes into the business and it starts feeling more real, and I think there's definitely value in that. Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
so exactly. We're still early phases of this. We don't know if we have a business.
Yeah, that's right. But a baby can be born without a name. Can it? I don't know. Is that
I think it can. Yeah, I think you can.
I don't know.
We have a quote of the week.
We have a quote of the week. We do. Sorry, I jumped into a long rant without your quote of the week, Reubs. Reubs has a quote prepared for everyone.
Here's our quote of the week. So this lesson, or this quote of the week, ties into our session last month around starting up and starting humbly. So this quote is from the second Māori king, King Tawhiao, and he said, "Māku anō e hanga tōku nei whare, ko te tahuhu he hino, ko ngā poupou he māhui pātate." And so what he's saying there is, I will build my house with hino, and the posts, or the supporting posts, will be made from mahui, and pātate. And if you go and Google those three trees, you'll find that they're very humble trees. They're not the tōtara, they're not the kauri, they're not the biggest, baddest trees in the forest. And this is the Māori king. And so what he's saying here is, start with humility. Start with the resources you have, and you don't need to have the best, flashest, nicest gears in order to build something great. And so that I think resonates with a lot of people, and definitely with me starting out in business, and certainly in business generally. I think it's important, whether you're just starting out or even if you have an existing business, you don't need the flashiest stuff in order to do great things.
Absolutely. And I suppose that's the contrast between calling yourself an entrepreneur and driving around in a BMW that you can't afford, as opposed to being passionate about solving a problem for a group of people. And if you're passionate about solving the problem for a bunch of people, and that's your drive, you don't care about everyone thinking that you're this fancy entrepreneur.
Yeah, you'll build that whare out of any trees you can get your hands on, the best ones you can find, the strongest ones you can find, but not necessarily the flashest.
That's right. Yeah. Just focus on just being humble, running a business from day one, rather than trying to borrow a bunch of stuff and show off to everyone.
Totally.
Yeah. Cool. So that awesome quote, Reubs. That was cool, and it was really cool for you to bring a bit of Tadeo into this as well.
Cheers.
Cool. So what we've done, I missed the quote, and I was sort of talking about the business name there, but so what I just wanted to touch on the business name, because I think people do really get hung up on the business name. So if you are going to go down the path of thinking about the name, I'd be checking domain names, and you can use things like there's GoDaddy.com, there's Crazy Domains, there's heaps of hosting sites. I like going to Crazy Domains, and then you can just type in the domain name and it'll pop up whether it's registered or not.
Yep.
If it's not registered, you can buy it for like $12.
Awesome.
So it's pretty cool. Now, so name aside, we've got our cash flow forecast. We've decided that, yes, this is a viable business. So the next step from there is we want to go and talk to some customers and see that if we have an idea for a business, and remember, this is our business, this is our idea, we're very precious about it. So we want to go and make sure that other people feel the same way.
Absolutely.
Now, to do that, what you want to do is you want to go and talk to potential customers. And say to them, hey, this is what I'm looking at doing, or this is an idea I have for a product or a service. Is this something that you'd be interested in purchasing or buying or subscribing to?
Yeah, interested. Is this something that's something you value? How do I find these people?
Yeah, so you want to be basically, first you need to identify who your customers are, right? So let's just say commercial cleaning company.
Yep.
Right. So this is going to be this is one of those businesses, but you know how we talked earlier in a previous episode. There are again, I don't like the word entrepreneur, but there's entrepreneurial style businesses where you're venturing into uncharted territories. You're designing a product or service that does not exist to solve a problem that is currently not solved. That's one type of business. The other one is where we are taking an existing trade and then we're going to find customers by putting a unique spin on our value proposition. Two very, very different two very different types of businesses. But let's just say commercial cleaning, for example. So this one here, we're not getting into the entrepreneurial style business. We're getting into a trade or offering a service to solve a problem for a group of people.
Existing market, the people are already paying for that service, just maybe not getting the best value, or they're not getting it in a way that they want to consume it.
Exactly. So in that case, it's really clear we're going to be looking for property owners, commercial property owners. We're looking for people who do property maintenance contracts. We're looking for people who lease buildings. You may want to be talking to some
body corporates, maybe.
Even real estate agents.
Totally.
These are the sort of people we want to be talking to and getting in front of people who would be in a position to purchase these services. And if you could just somehow get in front of them and say, hey, look, I'm looking at getting into this industry. Can you let me know what problems you're finding with your current supplier?
Yeah, or do you find this problem?
Is this a problem? This is a problem I'm looking at solving. Is this something that would be, would this make your life easier?
So an example maybe as a spin, it might be eco-friendliness. Okay, so that's a growing trend for businesses. They want to keep their green tick, and so maybe I'm a commercial property owner. Maybe I own a chain of restaurants. Okay, and I want to make sure that not only do my restaurants clean, but I want to make sure that they're being cleaned with products that are not detrimental to the environment. Okay, but at the moment I don't know that about my current provider. In fact, I don't think they use the cleanest, nicest stuff for the planet, and no other providers do either. So you'd go up to them and say, hey, would you be interested in a commercial cleaning company that offered that sort of level of service? That's quite new, right?
Absolutely, that's a great example. And I think this is a good time to touch on the the ways you can differentiate yourself from the market. So from memory, there's 3. You remember these sort of things better than I do, but you can compete on price.
Yep.
You can compete on quality.
Yes.
Or you can compete on a unique value proposition. Yeah, so you need to pick what differentiates you from your competition.
A top tip from me is not to compete on price. If you're just starting in business, it is actually the most competitive, hardest way to compete, because you need high volumes and you need them quickly. So when you're going to go start a supermarket, don't go and compete with Pack and Save. Don't go and compete with the low cost competitors. If you're going to start an airline, don't go and compete with Jetstar. That's the hardest method to
Absolutely,
go and compete at the higher end of the market, because there's more margin there, more room for error.
Absolutely, yeah. And like if you're going to start a beverage company, trying to compete with Coca-Cola on price, you're not going to do so well.
No,
because they have extreme buying power. They have what they call economies of scale. What's economies of scale, Rubes?
Basically, when things get cheaper, the more times you do it.
Yeah, as simple as that. So when you're looking to enter a market, it's a really good idea to be looking at doing something unique that adds additional value over and above your competitors. Service is a brilliant one to compete on. Being more available, providing more friendly service, or just another one is quality, just a better quality product. Could be faster. You could deliver faster than other people. So let's say, again, this commercial cleaning example, at the moment, the people come in at 6 p.m. and we go, hey, look, we can actually turn up at 8 p.m. So, you don't have your customers seeing your cleaners turn up. Little things like that you can do that's unique. But you want to go and talk to a number of people depending on the size of the market. Look, it could be 10. 10 customers could be huge for you, or you might need to talk to 100 customers if you're looking at doing a consumer product out to the masses.
Totally.
Go talk to what you believe would be the right number of people and understand what problems they have and how your unique value proposition would solve those problems. And part of that is you want to understand what value they would place on this, and you want to make sure this is aligned with your idea. What you don't want to do is end up trying to convince people that your idea is a good one.
Yeah, there's a bit of a red flag, isn't it?
Yeah, if you go talk to 5 people and you end up in an argument with all 5 of them, trying to convince them that you've got a good idea, I tell you what, it's not a good idea. You want to be able to explain your idea very, very easily to people, and then they go, this is great, when can I have it? If you have 10 conversations and 8 or 9 of them go, fantastic, when can I have it? You've got a good product. And that was what we did with link reporting. There was an existing problem that you can't get good reporting data out of the Xero platform for the reports that we do. For practice management, being staff performance, being project profitability, and work in progress, and these things that we very much specialize in. No one could do it. So all we did is we met with, in fact, we had accounting practices coming to us saying, hey, no one can solve this problem, can you solve it? So we were able to solve that problem, and we knew that it's worth investing in this to build the solution, because we have people out there that were actively looking for the solution. And then all we needed to do was put a value on it, communicate that price to people that were contacting us about it. Everyone was happy. Great. Well, then we launched the product, and here we are today. Whereas if what we originally did when we originally tried to build this product, this is years ago, is we built a concept and went to market, and I ended up just talking to these people and having to try and sell to them, and I got frustrated that no one saw the value in my product. The reason they saw no value is because I wasn't actually solving their problem.
That's right, we solved what we thought was their problem.
Correct, and as Ruben says, is this a product in search of a market? You've got to be very, very careful. You don't just create something and go, oh, right, well, now I need to find customers.
Correct. Yeah, a lot of people do that, A
lot of people do. And the thing that pops into my mind is like, if you wanted to get into the industry of, printing T-shirts, Saturated, man, real saturated, and what you're doing is you're creating a product and then you're searching for a market, and that's very, very difficult. But if you've got an existing, a whole lot of people with an existing problem, it's a lot easier to go in with a solution to a problem that a lot of people have.
That's how you find your customers.
That is how you find your customers, yeah, and then that's how you check to make sure that your business idea is on point with everyone else's. Now, one other point I want to mention about that is I'm talking about going and talking to your customers. Your customers should very easily understand the problem you solve, and you should be able to explain your idea to them and they'll get it, and ideally they want it. If you go and talk to your mum or your auntie or uncle who have no idea about the industry, and you get into a bit of an argument with them about trying to convince them that yours is a good idea, remember, they're not your target customer.
Yeah, you don't need them to understand.
You don't need mum to agree that you have a good business idea. You need the people that you're trying to sell to agree that your idea is good.
And good enough to pay money for.
Good enough to pay money for, yeah. And just looping back to a previous conversation we had, it's a very, very, very good idea to make sure that the people that you're selling to have money to pay for your product.
Yes.
It's very, very difficult to make money out of people who have no disposable income.
So when I'm meeting with these prospective customers, and I'm suggesting this as a concept to them, would it be a good idea to float a suggested price, or maybe to ask them what they're currently paying, or maybe to ask them how often they purchase this product or service as it is? These are the sorts of things that would inform your cash flow forecast, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And then what you can do is once you've done this is your market research you're doing, and then you can go back to your forecast and plug in some more accurate numbers.
How many people do I have to meet with? Like, how long should this take?
Oh, it really depends on the type of product. Like if you're going to create a consumer type product, I'd be thinking 100 to 200 would be great. If you're creating a beverage, right? Go talk to 300 or 400 people.
Yeah.
Ideally, stop people, stand outside the supermarket and ask people questions. Hey, have you got 30 seconds? I want to ask you about this product idea I've got. Then you're just getting a wide variety, because if you've got a consumer-based product, especially a food or beverage that you're trying to push out to a mass market, you want to make sure that you're looking at different demographics. You might find out actually the Indian community love this product.
The flavour, or
they love it.
The shape, or the colour, or whatever, yeah.
Let's get some marketing messages for this community. Or you might find that teenagers, teenage kids love this product. Well, great. Well, now our marketing message is going to be for these people. So I'd go and talk to as many different types of people as possible. Whereas if you're getting into a commercial type thing, if you want to do like a commercial cleaning business, well, standing outside Countdown is going to do nothing for you.
Correct, yeah. And this is all stuff you can do while you're still employed.
Yeah, exactly. You don't have to quit your job before you do this.
No, totally. You can do this, after hours or during your lunch break, or anytime you take a sick day. This could be some really good research that you'll be doing.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think this would be a good time to talk about the difference between B2B and B2C.
So really good.
What's the difference, Reubs, between a B2B business and a B2C business?
Yeah, you see that quite frequently, but the contrast is huge.
Huge.
So, B2B stands for business to business, and that is where one business is transacting with another business. And so an example of that would be if I'm selling cleaning materials, but to a commercial cleaning company. Now, I'm an importer, distributor, maybe manufacturer of cleaning products, okay? Maybe I do spray and wipe stuff, right? And the kind of people I'm selling to are also a business. They're a commercial cleaning company. They go through a lot of this stuff. So that's a business-to-business relationship, and it's characterized by invoice. So I would typically invoice my customer, and they would pay me on that customer. And I'd know who my customers were. We'd have an account together. That we would understand very much their requirements and what they need from me and what I could do for them. But then a business to consumer, you could have the exact same business, manufacturing, cleaning, spray and wipe equipment, however, bottles. However, if you're B2C, you're selling directly to a consumer. That person is someone you may have never ever met before. You probably won't know their name. You probably won't know their email address or how to get a hold of them. They come to you and they buy it off the shelf, or maybe they buy it online, or some, but they buy it from some means, and they typically pay cash or EFTPOS credit card type scenario directly at that point when they pick up the items.
Yeah, and I think so that's the distinction between the two. And I think what's important to note as well is that when you are selling B2B, when the business, this is your customer, when your customer purchases from you, that's likely to be a tax deductible expense. So therefore, you can, for them. So let's say, for example, I'm selling some timber, right? So I've got a pallet of timber, and then I could sell that to a building company, or I could sell that to an individual. Now, when I sell it to, let's say it's $1,000 plus GST.
Okay,
Okay. So when I sell that to a building company, the building company can claim the GST back as a GST expense, and they can also take that $1,000 and deduct that as an expense. So they claim that against their tax.
Yep.
So they are going to, that's going to be a lot cheaper. If I'm selling the same timber to a consumer, what's going to happen is they are paying the GST and they can't claim the GST back and they can't claim a tax deductible expense.
Totally.
So why this is important is because you can actually charge a lot more money for the same thing to a business than you can to a consumer.
So let's look at that commercial cleaning, or that cleaning company. Let's not call it a commercial cleaning company anymore, but it's the same people doing the same sort of thing. You could be charging a lot more, and you'll find it a lot easier to make sales when you're selling to a business than if you were selling cleaning services to people.
That's a far better example than I just gave with the timber. That's a far better example.
Not that many timber merchants out there.
Yeah, that's right.
There are a lot of people who
do cleaning. So let's say, for example, you're going to go around and clean residential houses, or you can go around and clean commercial buildings. Now, from that's a very much a luxury spend for a residential environment because they can't claim the tax back or the GST back on your invoice.
Everyone can afford a cleaner for their house.
That's right.
But clean their own house.
In a commercial world, it's just a business expense that they don't worry about. Now, let's look at that. That's one side of things, is the fact that it is tax deductible. The other way to look at it is, as a consumer, I try to save as much money as possible. I want to save money. I want to save for my retirement. I want to save so I can buy luxury items or whatever that looks like. Now, as a business, you don't look at money in terms of saving it. You don't look at money the same way when you're running a business as you do as a consumer. So what I mean by that is, businesses actively try and spend money to improve the business. It's not common for a consumer to want to spend money. Usually you want to hold on to money, but you spend it when you really, really, really want to. Like, a new pair of shoes, I have to buy them, or maybe I really want to buy this beer or whatever.
Totally.
But as a business, you can go, right, well, we made a $20,000 profit last month, and you go, well, let's actually spend $5,000 on education, or let's spend some money on improving the business, or invest back into the business.
Totally. How can I take $5,000 and put that into something that's going to make me earn $30,000 next month?
That's right. Yeah. So you find businesses are more willing to spend money than consumers are. So the benefit of selling B2B is, one is it's tax deductible. The other one is they're more likely to spend money and they'll spend more money. The benefit of selling business to consumer is you've got a much bigger market to sell to. You've got everyone who breathes.
Yes.
Well, within your target market, of course, but there's more customers out there. So I just wanted to discuss the differences between a B2B environment and the B2C environment. I think that's important when you're looking at talking to your customers and establishing whether your business will be accepted by the market or not.
Right, so after you have had these conversations with these people, hopefully you've got some better numbers you can now input into your cash flow forecast. You can put in, how much these people are willing to spend, how often they'll use your services or buy your product, how many of these people there are. You might be able to research how many businesses are there like this within a geography, within a market that you may be in. That's your revenue research you've done. You can now should have a very good number or good prediction of revenue in your revenue forecast. But you can do the same thing with your costs. In your direct costs and your overheads in your forecast. You can have a look. You can call some suppliers and say, "Hey, what would you charge me?" Let's imagine I'm a furniture wholesaler. What would you charge me for a table like this? And you're not a customer to them yet. You're just you're nobody off the street. But you can ask. You can go on their website. You can write that number down, and you can say, "Well, I know it retails for $150, but they probably would sell it to me for $80. That's what they sell it to other people for."
Yeah,
so then you can put that number in your spreadsheet, and then you look at a van. You go, "Okay, well, this is the van I would look at running. Maybe I'm a cleaning company. This is the van I'm looking at hiring. It's a good entry level van that's not going to cost me too much money to run. It's going to cost me this much to purchase or this much to finance." And you can put that. You can call the finance company and say, "How much would you sell me that van?" And they'd go, "This number of dollars." Great. Now you put those numbers in your spreadsheet, and once you've filled out all these numbers and you're pretty solid on all the assumptions you've made, you've got a real cash flow forecast. And at the end of 12 months, you should have a number greater than zero.
Yeah, let's hope. Yeah. So what we've covered so far is in our first episode we looked at actually identifying what problem we're going to solve, and we had a bit of a chat around the problem we're solving and making sure that we are solving a problem for our business and how we find what our business could be. Then we looked at the importance of a cash flow forecast and how to not make some silly mistakes around bringing on too much debt. And what we've just talked about here is that our next step, which is going out and talking to your customers and prospective customers and making sure that your idea that you think is good is also thought of as good by the market you're wanting to sell to. So at the moment, that's sort of where we should be. In a month's time, we'll be having another catch up, and we'll be looking at that next step, which will be taking this business idea and starting to make it into reality and getting some sort of
some practical business setup, compliance basics.
That's right, exactly. Awesome. Okay, well, I hope everyone found that useful, and I'm looking forward to catching you guys next week.
See you next month.